Good morning, my name is Josh from Cyclone, and today we've got a large area of low pressure starting to develop over the Northern Territory, which is going to be promoting significant rainfall totals over the Northern Territory and also into Western Australia over the coming couple of days. We're also going to be taking a look at some significant rainfall that's expected to fall around the northern parts of tropical Queensland, and also some thunderstorms for the Brisbane and northern parts of New South Wales region. If you are brand new to the channel, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it, and tell me a weather report for your location in the comments section down below after all of that. So taking a look at this developing low pressure system, you can see it's over the Northern Territory right now. If we take a look at the infrared satellite imagery to get an idea of how strong these thunderstorms are, you can see there are some pretty tall thunderclouds here, which means we're looking out for some relatively strong thunderstorms. And considering that they're firing up this morning as well, and they're just consistently firing up, this certainly has characteristics of a slowly developing tropical low. And there's going to be a lot of rainfall over parts of the Northern Territory throughout the remainder of today. There will be places over the next 24 hours that pick up to at least 50 millimeters or so, especially near Wave Hill, and maybe down towards, I'd say, Halls Creek in Western Australia as well. Maybe not as far out as Halls Creek, but you can see a lot of rainfall still expected across a lot of locations. It's going to be quite a stormy afternoon. It's nothing unusual for this time of the year. There's a lot of rainfall that typically falls in the afternoons and evenings around the Northern Territory and the Kimberley region of Western Australia, but just note that it will be stormier than usual, and these storms will be more widespread. And there's certainly the risk of flash flooding this afternoon as well from some of these thunderstorms, because they will be quite strong. As this system moves into Western Australia, we're going to be seeing rainfall totals increasing quite significantly over the course of this week. We're going to be seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity in the afternoons and evenings throughout Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then I believe Saturday it slowly dies off in the Northern Territory. Still some strong thunderstorms there, but it mostly moves into Western Australia, and especially by Sunday we've got these very strong thunderstorms dominating the West Australian weather front, and it's Western Australia wide as well. These storms from associated low pressure troughs, they extend as far south as Albany as well on the extreme southern coast of Western Australia, and we could be seeing a lot of rainfall fall out of these thunderstorms this weekend as well. There is a risk of some significant flooding in the Wheatbelt region as well, because there's growing consistency right now that there is going to be a lot of rainfall falling out here. Now, yesterday morning, we were looking mostly at the Northern Territory into Western Australia. Now we're mostly looking solely Western Australia for these significant rainfall accumulations above 150 millimeters. If we're looking at the rainfall accumulation over the next 10 days, for the eastern relief, there's only one or two spots above 100 to 150 millimeters in the Northern Territory, and they're very close to the West Australian border. The worse the rainfall will be in the Kimberley region, where we could be seeing up to 220, 230 millimeters for some locations. And that's also reciprocated amongst most of the major forecast models as well. GFS, very in keeping with the Eastern RBF's forecast as well. They are almost side by side in terms of accuracy, and those are the two forecast models that you want to give a certain forecast, especially over the coming 5 days. So I'm very happy with calling Western Australia as sort of the centre for this significant amount of rainfall, but still there'll be a lot of locations in the Northern Territory that get up to 50 to 100 millimeters of rainfall over the next 10 days. The Access G3 is still upplaying the rainfall quite a little bit. They're calling for much more rainfall to fall further inland as well, up to 150 millimeters for some locations into the Pilbara, which is about twice as much as what the other two forecast models are saying. Still, though, a plausible scenario. And if we come down south as well, you can see a lot of rainfall falling throughout parts of the Wheatbelt and the Great Southern region of Western Australia. Up to 100 millimeters is possible in these locations down here, which, as I said earlier, will cause some significant flash flooding. It's going to be very hit or miss, this rainfall in Perth, but it looks like it's going to be pretty much a big hit for some locations across parts of the Wheatbelt and the Great Southern in Western Australia. So I reckon it's definitely time to start expecting some significant rainfall totals this weekend if you live in the Wheatbelt and the Great Southern regions, and maybe even into the Lower West as well, especially Sunday afternoon. By the looks of things, it looks like Sunday afternoon is kind of the peak time for these storms, which will last into around Monday, when they should slowly start to ease off. We could still be seeing some pulse thunderstorm activity Monday afternoon and evening. That's basically it for Western Australia weather. There's nothing too extreme in terms of hot weather either happening in Western Australia. It will certainly heat up for the west coast as well over the coming 10 days. Of course, as usual, it looks like the Gascoyne region pretty much misses out until you get much further inland, so that's a little bit of a disappointment. But again, that's pretty much the driest part of Western Australia around Carnarvon and Shark Bay and so forth. So it's no surprise that they're missing out on rainfall. But I mean, this is some very good, this is very widespread, healthy rainfall for the Northern Territory and Western Australia. It's a pretty green picture nationwide, which means more than 50 millimetres of rainfall over the next 10 days. I was about to say 10 years, I don't know what I'm saying there. But yeah, certainly looking like we're heading into a wetter period, that's for sure, and that's definitely some good news as well. Now, before we take a look at the rainfall situation up in far northern Queensland, I'm going to talk about the thunderstorms in northern New South Wales and southeastern Queensland, because it looks like we're going to be seeing something fire up from about Friday night onwards. So Friday, we've got some very hot weather extending into New South Wales and also into parts of Queensland as well. I know Brisbane has been scorching over the past couple of days. Looks like there might be a bit of relief to the heat today. Still 30 degrees with a higher humidity, so probably feels like of around 34, and that does look like it's staying until about Friday, when it could warm up just a little bit further by the looks of things. Actually, Friday going for a maximum of 30 degrees as well. And yeah, some thunderstorms Friday afternoon. Definitely Saturday is going to be the peak time though. And these thunderstorms don't look too strong, at least not for Queensland, but anywhere north of Sydney and inland to around Orange and then up towards Lightning Ridge, expect some pretty strong thunderstorms. This is going to be definitely a severe thunderstorm situation that we see Saturday afternoon into early evening, especially evening the further north you get up towards Grafton and Armidale. It's going to be quite a stormy event, that's for sure. And then it looks like Sunday these storms move into southern Queensland, southeastern Queensland around Toowoomba, Ipswich. Brisbane looks like it might miss out on the worst of it. Coomera could get some significant thunderstorm activity, though the Gold Coast as well might receive some significant rainfall from this system. And yeah, over the next 5 days, expect up to around 50 to 80 millimetres, I'd say, in some locations. Considering it's a thunderstorm forecast, the forecast isn't 100% accurate right now. There's going to be variables that change significantly over the coming couple of days, and it is hard to give a good thunderstorm forecast that's this far out. However, looking out for at least 50 millimetres for some locations, and maybe up towards 80 or 90 millimetres for one or two lucky people in some parts of Queensland. These will be severe thunderstorms. They will have damaging winds, likely heavy rainfall as well, maybe even some hailstones, so we can't be ruling that out. March, convectively speaking, is another very active month for severe thunderstorm activity, and we can't be ruling out some severe thunderstorms heading into March and April over the coming couple of months. But we're certainly heading out of summer. I can feel it in the air as well in Perth. I mean, we've had some pretty chilly mornings over here. Still 18 degrees Celsius isn't classed as chilly in Perth. That's a warm winter's day for comparison, but it's because of the heat that we've been seeing. It's certainly a colder day by comparison. Now, there's starting to be a little bit of confusion up in northern Queensland, especially around the Cape York Peninsula, in regards to how much rainfall is coming over the next 10 days. The Access G3 model is calling for quite a lot, up to 400 millimetres for some locations, or at least 300 to 400 millimetres for some areas, but the Eastern Blue Earth hasn't really caught on board with that yet. And generally speaking, when the Access says something that the other forecast models don't say, as a rule of thumb, it's not going to happen. The Access G3 model can throw out some pretty wacky things here, and I haven't actually looked at the forecast up here. I believe it's sort of in the next 5 to 10 days, but there will also be some rainfall, especially this afternoon and into tomorrow afternoon as well, associated from this tropical low in Queensland. I mean, this is a really wet picture nationwide, that's for sure. We're looking out for some pretty strong thunderstorms this afternoon. It's going to be very convectively active, and I mean, if some of these storms get significant enough, there will be an update on this later on in this afternoon. So stick around for that, and if you haven't already, then please do consider subscribing. By Friday, it looks like these thunderstorms might be slowly easing out. Definitely by Saturday, they'll be easing out of Queensland. And then I think we're looking out for a rainfall event from an onshore flow associated with a tropical low in the Solomon Sea by around Tuesday and Wednesday. This is going to be very interesting to watch, because it looks like this might try and spin itself up into a defined and organised tropical low. So from next Tuesday into around next Friday, it looks like the weather in the Coral Sea becomes very unstable, and we see a lot of rainfall start to stream ashore. Again, haven't really had the details ironed out yet in terms of where the system's going to be going or how much rainfall is expected. It looks like it's just going to be one of those events where you get a bunch of showers move ashore, and it's 25 to 50 millimetres per day for around 4 days or 5 days for some locations. Very typical wet season activity, and it's nothing that I would be concerned about right now. There's a tropical low the Axis G3 has developing south of the Solomon Islands. I don't think it's reciprocated on other forecast models, so I don't think it's anything to be worth worrying about. Once again, I'll just secretly keep an eye on that and see what actually happens with that system. But apart from that, nothing else really interesting happening around the Australian weather front. Western Australia still yet to receive its first tropical cyclone of the year, and we're heading into March. From tomorrow, it will be not tomorrow, leap year, the day after, it will be March. I can't believe that we haven't seen a tropical cyclone here. This is definitely one for the record books, the latest start of the tropical cyclone season in Western Australia. And yeah, it's been a really flat cyclone season overall. 3 cyclones, we're already heading into March. We should be up around 6 or 7 right now, so it's about half as active as usual, and that is definitely because of the El Nino. The weather pattern that we are seeing. Now, over the coming couple of days, I will be releasing an update regarding El Nino, La Nina, and I'll be giving a bit of a graphical forecast on what's going to be happening there. So if you want to stick around for that, then please do consider subscribing, because yeah, that's going to be a good update, that's for sure. I'm going to put a lot of research into that and make sure that it is really good, because I do think that we're moving back into a La Nina later this year. But once again, I haven't really thrown myself at the forecast yet. We're just taking a last second look at these thunderstorms blowing up over the Northern Territory. If you love satellite imagery and you love seeing thunderstorms blow up, then I highly recommend checking out either windy.com and going over to the satellite and then the blue satellite imagery. Today, this is the blue mode that I'm using, or you can use the Bureau of Meteorology's Himori 9 satellite viewer, because you're going to see some very significant and quite frankly some pretty thunderstorms blowing up this afternoon and evening, and I am quite frankly very excited to see those fire up on satellite imagery, and I'll be watching that from my desk at work, that's for sure. Certainly though, a nice little tropical low starting to spin up over the Northern Territory. It's not going to go cyclonic, there's going to be no risk that this actually becomes a tropical cyclone, but it will certainly behave like a tropical low with a significant amount of rainfall. It'll probably be slow moving as well, like all of them over Western Australia, and it will just constantly be firing convection due to an effect called the brown ocean effect, where it dumps that rainfall, and that rainfall becomes either inland seas or something, and it's able to sustain convection over its said inland seas. Certainly though, a pretty picture across the northern parts of Australia, and also a pretty picture across the south. You can already see that tropical low, that cold front that's going to be the precursor to the thunderstorm event that we see this weekend over New South Wales, starting to move through in the Great Australian Bight. Now that actually looks like a nice strong front. I'm surprised I didn't actually see that earlier, but it definitely looks like it's going to have some rather strong winds in it, up to 34 knots maybe, gusting up to maybe 60 or 70 knots in there. So yeah, boating in Victoria, Adelaide, that sort of area, definitely not advisable, considering that this is definitely going to be on the stronger end of weather fronts. But yeah, that's basically it on the Australian weather front right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see anything in the next video, then please let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to try and respond to every single comment today, so that's a bit of a challenge. If you got any questions, then please do consider asking them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.